All right, Miss Duncan's class, the video I'm doing today is coming straight from the GMAS 3rd grade study guide. I know we're not taking GMAS this year, but it's really important that you know how to solve these problems for GMAS next year and in 5th grade. So this is an extended constructed response. The standard is MGSE 3 OA2. We're interpreting whole number quotients of whole numbers. I'm going to leave it on the screen. Look over the questions that we'll be answering. All right, I'm going to start off by letting you know that when I was writing this problem, I was running out of space. So I had to take those questions that you saw and kind of condense them and put some of them together. So I have my computer. I'm going to read off what it originally said and what I wrote so that we can answer it all correctly. So the problem says, Melissa is baking cookies. Her recipe requires 3 eggs for 1 batch of cookies. She has 24 eggs. Now, one of the things that we do a lot in class is we look for the numbers first. So it's probably easy to see this number, 3, and this number, 24. But there's a number that we're missing, and this is why it's so important that we read carefully. Because if you read carefully, you see this word, 1. It's written in word form, but that's also a number that we have. Now I'm going to reread now that I've identified all my numbers in the problem. It says, Melissa is baking cookies. Her recipe requires 3 eggs for 1 batch of cookies. She has 24 eggs. So this girl, she's baking cookies. She has 24 eggs, and each batch needs 3 eggs. A is a combination of A and B. So in the GMAS packet, A says write an equation to find how many batches of cookies Melissa could make. So we're going to be writing the equation. Part B says solve your equation to find out how many batches of cookies Melissa can make. So we're going to be solving for how many batches can Melissa make, and also writing the equation that we use when we solve it. So for me to think of my equation, I might have to draw a picture. So she has 24 eggs. I'm going to draw my 24 eggs. And the reason I'm drawing them in groups of 3 is because I know that 1 batch needs 3 eggs. So I'm drawing my 24 eggs in groups of 3. I have 24 eggs. I'm going to circle my 24 eggs into those groups of 3 that I tried to draw them in. So this right here represents 1 batch of cookies that she can make, because 1 batch of cookies requires 3 eggs. So these 3 eggs can go in 1 batch of cookies. And my question is, how many batches can Melissa make? So from my 24 eggs divided by groups of 3 equals how many divided by groups of 3 equals how many groups? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, from looking at this, you should be able to think of kind of an equation from that. This shows 3, 3 in each group, times the number of groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 equals 24. The way we solved it, we were showing that 24 divided by 3 equals 8. The number that we solved for, the number that was not in our problem, 24 was in it, 3 was in it, was 8. So how many batches can Melissa make? Melissa can make 8 batches. Write the equation. 24 divided by 3 equals 8. Before we solved this, that 8 might have been a question mark or a blank space or a letter standing in for the number. It might have looked like this. All right, now moving on to part B. Part B says, solve your equation to find out how many batches of cookies Melissa can make. So I'm solving my equation. That was what I did here. So part C is my B. Part C says, explain how you solved your equation. How did I solve this? Think through what I did in order to solve this problem. First, I had to understand the problem, right? So I identified the numbers, and I knew what it was asking me for, how many batches. So how I solved my problem, let me write it out. I solved 24 divided by 3 by drawing groups. This was my equation, and this is how I drew it out. I started with 24, and then I divided by 3. I counted the total number of groups, and that is when I got 8. All right, now if I use multiplication to solve, I could say I solved 3 times blank equals 24 by drawing groups, or by skip counting 3 up to 24. It would look like this: 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. And I have 8 fingers up, so that would mean 8. C, Melissa realizes 3 of her eggs are broken, so she cannot use them. Explain how you know she can make 1 less batch. There's a lot of words. I'm going to read it one more time. This is asking a lot, so think through each part. Melissa realizes 3 of her eggs are broken. I want you to visualize this. What does it mean if 3 eggs are broken? Let's look back at our groups that we drew. In part A, 3 of the eggs are broken. So she cannot use them. So she can't use this, this, or this. Explain how you know she can make 1 less batch. So here we see, oh, that batch is not going to work out because those eggs are broken. How do we know? So when you cross these out, how do you know that that means she can make 1 less batch? So first, we have to remember 3 eggs are in 1 batch. I'm going to write it in my green. So I know that 3 of the eggs are broken, and I know that each batch takes 3 eggs. So this is going to mean that there's 1 less batch she can make. So this leaves us with the idea that Melissa can only make 7 batches if 3 of her eggs are broken. So today when we did this problem, we used division. We took a group of 24 eggs and we divided it into groups of 3 to understand how many batches of cookies Melissa would be able to make. When doing this problem, it was really, really important that we answered each question fully. So it asked me to write the equation, so I made sure that the whole equation was written out in my answer. It also wanted to know the answer, so not only did I write it, but I also circled it to identify that that was my answer. Melissa can make 8 batches, and I could write that out in words also. For part B, I explained how I solved my equation. I explained my strategy of drawing groups. For part C, I had to think through the process and explain how I knew. I made the connection between 3 eggs being broken and 3 eggs being in 1 batch. That's the connection I needed to make to properly explain how I knew she can make 1 less batch. I'm also doing a surprise scavenger hunt type thing. So each day I'm going to give you a letter and it's going to spell something out. So eventually, some point in this learning journey, you will know a secret, a class secret, so don't tell. So today, the letter that you get is M. Thanks for watching.